Hello, hello, hello. This is Els coming in from Beamy's Crafty Corner. And today I have this cute little gatefold tag pocket for us. There are 4 pockets on here. The first one is right here in the front. And you can see it's right here. And this one measures about 3.5 inch deep, 3.5 on this side as well. And these are about 2.5 inches wide. So 2 nice big pockets here in the front for tags, and then when you open it up inside, you've got a pocket here that's about 3.5 inches high, and interior space on this one's probably about 5 inches across. And of course you can always put little slap pockets on either side if you want, or straight pockets, however you want to do it, maybe a little band or something if you want it to there. And then on the back we have this nice big pocket, and the big pocket is about 4.5 inches deep, 4.25 by roughly 7 inches. And you can see this is a really big pocket here. Hold on, let me get the ruler. There we go. As you can see, this is a pretty big pocket here. Now, I didn't gusset any of the pockets on this because I didn't want any more bulk than what we have. And it's not a bad overall. The overall size on this one, I made it out at 7.5 by 5.5. So it'll fit most journals if you just want to kind of tuck it in. You could stitch here or here, wherever you, on either side, and stitch it in, and it could just be a flip that opens inside the journal. But it's a great little pocket piece, and I have a rather small supply list on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll get those supplies together and I'll be right back. Okay, what are we going to need for this one? We're going to need some glue, and you could use some tape on this one if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, but you could if you wanted to use it to put your mats on. You're going to need a circle punch, whatever size you like to use. You're going to need a scoreboard and a scoring tool, a bone folder, and a pair of scissors. You're going to need some 12 by 12 inch cardstock. It takes 2 sheets of 12 by 12 inch cardstock to complete the folder itself. You will be using 1 sheet to fold the piece, and then 1 sheet, a part of a sheet, to do the back here. So at least 1 full sheet and like a half sheet if you have that. Okay, so I'll be needing that. Okay, so I have picked out the pack of paper that I want to do this gatefold with, and I'm going to be using my Mind's Eye Lovely Day. I have the 6 by 6, which is double-sided, and there's some really cute papers in here. Really like this. And then I'm going to also be using the 12 by 12. These are double-sided. There's 6 sheets of paper in here, double-sided, and a set of stickers, which could come in handy. So I grabbed that. And I have 2 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. So let's take a look at what we're going to need here. The first thing we're going to need is an 11 by 12 inch piece of cardstock. And then we're going to need a second piece of cardstock of the same color. So if you have just a scrap, you don't need 2 sheets. But so I'm going to go ahead and make the first cut. The first cut is just going to be to cut one of these down to 11 inches. Okay. And then the second part we're going to want is going to be a piece that is 7.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So let's go ahead and cut this down at 7.5. Right there. And then we're going to cut one at 4.5. Now, for now, this is going to be all the cuts we're going to make, and that's going to be it until we get to the parts where we're making our mats. So, I have 2 pieces. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. We'll take a look. So I have 1 piece that is 11 inches by 12 inches, and then 1 piece that is 7.5 inches by 4.5 inches, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is some scoring, because we need to make this piece, looks like this, So we're going to get out our scoreboard and get set up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so with our 11 by 12 inch piece of paper in the scoreboard, on the 12-inch side, here's my 12-inch mark, I'm going to put my first score at 1/2 inch all the way down. And then I'm going to come over to 3 1/4, and I'm going to put in a score. And then I'm going to go all the way over to 8 3/4. And then I'm going to go to 11 1/2. Okay, so I have a score at 1/2 inch, 3 1/4, 8 3/4, 11 1/2. Now all the measurements are going to be in the instructions. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm simply going to give it one turn, okay? So this is my paper. I'm going to turn it once. So my line, my 1/2 inch score is now at the top. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to score at 3 1/2 inches. Okay? So we're going to go to 3 1/2 and we're just going to score all the way down the paper at 3 1/2. That's it. That's all our score marks. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the scoreboard, and I will be right back, and we will go. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move our 7 1/2 by 4 by 4 1/2 out of the way. We're going to take a look at the diagram here. So we're going to be folding some score lines. So we're going to fold the 1/2 inch, the 3 1/4, the 8 3/4, the 11 1/2, and then we're going to fold up the 3 1/2. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the 11 inch on the end. We're simply going to fold it over. We want to make sure that it's nice and even, and we're just going to go over this with our bone folder. And then we're going to fold the next one. Again, we're making sure that our ends are even. Now I'm using some pretty heavy stock here. This is basil cardstock, so it's really heavy. So when I put a line in, it stays, okay? So you may want to go over this more than once with a bone folder. For me, it's pretty much just a one-time thing. Okay. All right, so I got all of those. Now I'm going to do this one. And I just want to make sure that everything lines up. Once I'm sure, then I can go ahead and hit it with the bone folder. Okay, so now we have folded in these outside 1/2 inch flaps, these flaps, and we have the center. And if you kind of fold those 1/2 inch in and just hold them there, you're going to see that this comes together pretty close here in the middle. I think it's off like by a 32nd of an inch, but that's okay. Now, we're going to do a little cutting, little quick cutting. So get your scissors out, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the 1/2 inch strip on the short side. So we're just going to cut just inside the score line. We're going to stick pretty close to it, up to that mark, that fold at the 3 1/2 inch. And then we're just going to come over here and we're going to miter this corner and get rid of that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, just inside of that score line, up to the 3 1/2 inch score line. And then we're going to miter this in on this part of the flap here. We're going to get rid of those. All right, now we're going to make 2 more cuts. And in order for this to lay down correctly, we're going to cut out the entire score line. So first we're going to cut to the left of it, just along the left-hand side, up to that 3 1/2 inch score line. Okay, and we're going to get as close to that as we possibly can. And then we're going to cut just to the right-hand side of the score line. So we're going to be taking out a very small little slice. okay? And then we're just going to get rid of that. And we're going to do that on both sides, okay? Once you've got that done, we'll be right back, and I will move on to the next step for you. If you are an inker, now is when you want to do that, okay? You basically just want to kind of ink every fold. I mean, you don't need to ink here because this is going to glue in. You don't need to ink here because this is going to glue up. And you don't necessarily have to ink here because these are going to come up this way, but if you want to do that, that's fine. So when in doubt, ink everything, okay? All right, so first things first, we're going to glue down these flaps on the side, the 1/2-inch flaps. So we're just going to take a little bit of glue, and we're going to put the glue on the flaps. And we're going to glue these in. Okay, take this one. All right. Now, we're going to take this large center flap here, and it's going to go up. But before we do that, we're going to put our mats on, okay? Because we need to put a mat here and here, 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 here. And we're going to be putting the pocket here, so we need to put the mat on the pocket to go on here, okay? So, let's go ahead and get out the paper that we're going to be using for our mats, and I will be right back to give you the measurements for those. They will also be in the description, and we'll get started putting our mats down, okay? Okay, so if you're going to ink these, now would be the time to do so. So let me tell you what we're going to be cutting. So we're going to be cutting one 5.5 by 5.25 inch piece, and this is going to be the inside. And then we're going to be cutting two 5 by 2.5 inch pieces. These are going to be on the outside behind the side pockets on the front. Then you're going to be cutting two pieces of 2.5 by 7.25 inch. You're going to be cutting one piece of 5.5 by 5.25 by 3.25. That's going to be for this pocket. Then you're going to do your two pocket pieces. These are going to be 3.25 by 2.5. And then your big pocket in the back is going to be 7.25 by 4.25, okay? So let's go ahead and let's get started with the first one that we're going to put on here, which is going to be the first one that we cut, and that is this big one here in the back. Now, it doesn't have to go all the way down because this pocket's going to come up and cover it, okay? So we just want to kind of glue this down. Now, you can use glue, you can use tape, whatever you want to use, and you're just going to adhere this onto this section closer to the top, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and use glue because it's just quicker and easier this way. Okay. And I did round the corners a little bit, and I didn't round the corners on the piece itself. This is really thick cardstock. Alright, so the first piece is down. Now the next piece you're going to do is this flap for your pocket, okay? And that is going to be the piece that you had that was 5.25 by 3.25. So we're going to go ahead and glue this piece down. And again, we're just going to line this up with about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. We'll go ahead and just mount that down. Now, if you want to put a little finger piece in here, a knot in here, a knock, this is when you want to do it. You just use your punch, put it in there, and just clip it out, okay? If you don't, then don't worry about it. At this point, this whole pocket is done, and you can glue it down by simply putting a bead of glue on either side. You guys know how to do this. Okay, I am not putting gusseted pockets in this one because I don't want bulk. So just a flat pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and just hold that for a second, let it glue up. And then we're going to work on these two outside pieces. And we want to make sure that our pattern, if we have a pattern, is going in the right direction. And I did use a 6x6 pad on here and the 6x6 here. And so I chose the same paper in the 12x12, which just gives me a little bit larger of a print. And to balance that out a little bit, because I did round the corners, I used a larger round on the larger, wider piece and a smaller corner rounder for these side panels. And again, this is about 1/8 of an inch. You want to make sure that you're pretty even across the top here. And just glue that down. And we'll do the other side real quick. And then we're going to move on to the outside. Now remember, all of the measurements for the mats and everything will be in the description. So I'm just going to even this up at the top here, making sure that I'm at that 1/8 of an inch, nice and even across. You could use a ruler if you need to, just to make sure that you keep it balanced. And I'm going to glue that down. Okay, so that is basically our inside. Now we're going to move to the outside, so we're going to flip the whole thing over. And we're going to put on these two pieces first. Again, I cut these not to go all the way down because when our pockets come up, they're going to cover this. So it goes about 1 inch into the pocket. Again, I'm just going to glue these. And because they're long, skinny pieces, I used the smaller corner rounder again. And that's just about, you know, some symmetry and balance. So I'm going to put this on here, leaving myself 1/8 of an inch. And just adhere it down on both sides. And then we're going to move on to the pockets. And to do those, we're going to be flipping the panels up so that we make sure we get them going in the right direction and we've got the paper going in the right direction because we do have a pattern to follow. Okay, so I'll do this one over here. Again, I'm just looking to make sure that I get about the same distance at the top and that I have it pretty centered from side to side. And a little bit of glue, you know, it lets you move it just a little bit so I can get that lined up where I want it. I'm just going to go over everything just to make sure I've got it all adhered nicely. So now we're going to be doing our pockets, and these are going to come up like this. So we're going to go ahead and take our little pieces that we cut, and we're just going to glue these on with the pockets in the up position. And again, this is just to make sure that we get everything lined up nice and even, and that our pattern's going in the right direction. Okay, so both of these on, and then we're going to move on to that back pocket, which is not too difficult, but you do need to make a decision. Do you want it to open left or right? See, I almost messed that up. Okay. Put that on there. And I'm just looking to make sure that I have it evenly spaced from one side to the other, because when I close this, these are going to be right next to each other. Okay. Now again, if you're going to put a notch in here, now is the time to do it. You just go ahead and notch that out on either side. And I kind of like the notch in the front, so I'm going to do a small notch here. I'm just kind of eyeballing the middle. And I'm going to balance that on the other side. And then because I have inked this, I'm going to go ahead and ink the notch. as well. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue these flaps down to create my pockets. Again, not gusseting on these because I want them to be reasonably flat. I don't want the item to be too bulky. But I am going to make sure I get that glue all the way to the top. I'm going to put that down and hold it. Stay. I'm going to go over to the other side. When in doubt, clamp, right? All right, we're going to go over here to this side. There we go. Little glue on either side. I'm just going to hold this for a minute. And we're going to move on to that back pocket. Now, the big decision here is, do you want to have your pocket on the left and you pull things out on the right, or do you want to have it the other way? Whichever way you want to put this on, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to mount this onto here, and then you're going to put glue on 3 sides and glue this down, and I'll be back in just a moment, and we'll talk about some decorations and some tags and stuff, okay? Okay, so I'm back, and it is complete. I went ahead and made some tags and things for it, so let's just look at those really quick. So I made a couple of tags for the front pockets, and I just went ahead and inked them and just left them just rounded corners, sort of like bookmark tags. And so I've done these. And on this one, I did a little bit of the same paper that I used on the inside here. And I just didn't like how bland it was, so I just took a small piece of the flat paper that we used on the back here and just added a little piece to the side. And then inside, I just put 3 simple tags in here and then just put a little seam binding on those. I added a little detail here. And then I used the letters that came in the pack and just spelled spring across the top. And then in the back here, I went ahead, and this one was a little interesting because I could have just cut a piece of paper for it, but I wanted to show you that if you don't have a piece that'll fit the whole thing, you could just piece the 2 pieces together. I used a little bit of some washi tape here to kind of bring this seam together. And then I used my one of my tab punches to punch a little tab here. I put a little detail on, and I've just inked these all the way around, and I just added this little tab here, and it just slides right into this pocket, and it literally just sits right there, just inside. And I added a little detail here. Okay, so that's the little project. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you give this a try, and if you do, post it in my Facebook group because I'd love to see your creations. Okay, so I'm going to include the measurements for all the tags in the description box below, and then the mats that go on them are 1/4 inch smaller in both directions. So I'll include those mats as well. That's it, guys. If you have not done so already, please hit the red button for me, like, subscribe, and ring my bell. Share me with all your friends because I'm making this little gatefold. And the best part about this is you could stitch this right into a journal if you wanted to, because it's only 5.5 inches wide. All right, guys, till the next time. Bye-bye.